What's up guys, Mitch from the DIYRecordingStudio.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest offering from Audioscape. They have an amazing new compressor that they've just announced. There's some more exciting news from Z&H Designs, a company that I've mentioned on this channel before. Jack White has released an amazing new spring reverb pedal. Apparently CD sales are on the rise, and I have an interesting story about that myself. And this week we have two plugins, one free and one extremely cheap, that are definitely worth taking a look at. There's a lot to catch up on, so let's get into it. So first up, we have Audioscape releasing their version of the Neve 33609. And if you've been following this channel, the 33609 has been getting a bit of attention because Behringer just released a clone of this one. And now Audioscape are joining the fray, and they've got their own version of this, and it looks pretty awesome. You can expect that this will be a true to form clone, that it will definitely have the right components. Unlike other manufacturers, they don't skimp on their parts. So you're getting genuine original circuit topology design that's really carefully built. From all accounts, Audioscape are an amazing company. I actually don't own any of their pieces, not yet anyway, but I have lots of friends that do, and they always get a good rap online as well. And you can see here they're taking pre-orders for $300 US. As always with Audioscape, you got to keep an eye out for when they have a bunch of their products come online, so keep on top of that if you're interested in one of these awesome bus compressors. But very, very cool that they're now releasing a more affordable 33609. It is only $1,800. That is so affordable. If this is like a genuine one-to-one component version of the 33609, something much closer to the original, as opposed to say like the Behringer where they're using their own input transformers and output transformers. If this thing has like genuine componentry, you know, under $2,000 US is a really, really awesome buy. And it's probably one of the cheapest versions of this compressor. So very, very cool. I'll be keeping an eye out on that one. If you've been following the channel, you will be very familiar with this next company, Z&H Designs. They actually sent me a copy of their V250s, and I've got a preview video where I demo how this actual unit sounds. It's excellent. It's one of my favorite EQs at the moment. It's amazing. Definitely go check that video out. I'll put a link down below. But because of all of you engaging and enjoying that video and the content that I've been making around Z&H, they've been kind enough to send me one of their latest products. It's their version of the API 560. They're calling it the V560 graphic EQ, and it should look pretty, you know, familiar. We all know what this EQ is, and it seems to have the right topology. It's got, you know, the API style op amp stage. It's got the output transformer just like you would expect. And yeah, once again, Z&H, it appears that they've done, you know, really good, faithful to the original design here. And I'll have an unboxing and some demos of these units really soon. So make sure you hit like and subscribe down below to stay tuned for those videos. In plugin news, IK Multimedia have released their latest offering. It's T-Racks 6, and I'm actually only putting this in this Hold Your Gas because I actually don't use these plugins at all, and I'm interested to know if any of you guys actually use T-Racks as your go-to plugins. I have never used these plugins before. I saw that they, you know, released their latest offering. They've done some updates and stuff. And I just thought I'd shout out to everyone and say, hey, does anyone actually use these plugins at all? And if you do, why do you think they're worth a look? It's always good to get other people's opinion and find out how and why they're using plugins. But yeah, the T-Racks stuff I've just never got into, and I've never really seen many of the people I follow using them. And yeah, it's just one of those funny things. So if they're awesome, hit me up in the comment sections down below, let me know, and I'll definitely give them a whirl on this channel because I'd be interested to know what you guys think. In other hardware related news, Jack White has released his latest pedal offering. And if you've been following him and his, what's his company called? Through his company, he's been releasing a bunch of pedals through Third Man. And anyway, let's have a look at it. It's this pedal here, the Grotte I definitely should check the pronunciation of that. Anyway, it's this amazing spring reverb. And what you can see, like some other pedals that have been released recently that are spring reverbs, they actually have a genuine spring in them. And this is really cool because this makes it actually an analog spring reverb, a real one, like what you would find in a guitar amp. And you know, like you can do digital recreations of spring reverbs and they can be excellent, but there is definitely a sound to the spring reverbs, like a real one, a good one. And what they've done is put this in a pedal, and it's really cool. There's also a dry wet function on it, and you've got some EQ functions. There's actually like an overdrive section to this that you can push the reverb into. So you're not just getting a spring reverb pedal. What's cool about this, you've got some EQ and an overdrive circuit. Very, very cool stuff because it gives you a bunch of options with this pedal. You could just use it dry with overdrive, or you could use some of the EQ functionality, or of course you can use the spring reverb in there as well. Very, very cool, great looking product, looks awesome, and yeah, just if you're a pedal geek like me, very, very cool. In other crazy pedal news, Chase Bliss have had to recall some of their pedals because of certain components they've used in a bunch of their pedals, which is pretty wild. And it's these 5 pedals here. Some of you might be familiar with them. This preamp pedal was hugely popular and talked about when it was released, and yeah, they've all been recalled because of a component called LDR or Vactrol, and those components aren't allowed to be used in the UK and the EU because America is a little bit more lax on some of those things. You can still get them in circulation in America, but they have been recalled. So yeah, they've discontinued these products completely. I don't know if they'll be back on the market. They're gone. So, you know, maybe time to jump in and try and snap up one of these cheap if you're not worried about, you know, these components being used in those. Yeah, maybe do some research and see. You might get a bargain, but it might, I don't know, come at a cost. Anyway, in other news, CD sales appear to be making a comeback. And this is a really interesting one because I came across this article talking about the comeback of CDs. And, you know, like there's always talk about, oh, records are coming back. Oh, CDs are coming back, blah, 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 blah. And the real reason for this is because artists are going to always look for ways to sell physical media to their fans, because if you sell physical media to your fans as opposed to things like streaming on Spotify, you get a larger percentage of the physical media. It is definitely a more viable solution for a lot of artists to sell physical media to actually make some money off their music. And if you're a young and up-and-coming artist, I would definitely be suggesting to sell physical media as opposed to just streaming media, because you're going to make nothing off Spotify. But all of that aside, this article was talking about how CD sales are experiencing an unexpected resurgence and now are well ahead of digital downloads. But digital downloads are way down anyway. So digital downloads have been almost nil for a lot of people and in a lot of markets. So that's a crazy one. But CDs are selling, totaling 236 million, which is like, you know, nothing to sneeze at. And this could mark the end of digital downloads while CD sales are making a surprising comeback. The music landscape is therefore more diverse than ever, with a mix of physical and digital formats catering to different listener preferences. And like, this is exactly what's happening in our marketplaces now. Like, some people will just always prefer digital streaming. Other people are going to want a memento from a band or something like that. So physical media is always going to have a place. And whether or not it's the more predominant place, it's a way for you as an artist to make money. And it's something that we as mix engineers and mastering engineers and stuff have to be following, because recently, I actually had a band that needed mastering for CDs, and they actually went out and got a CD burner and all the things just to burn their own CDs to sell them to their fans. And I think it's a really clever option and it's a really cool thing, but it means that you've got a bunch of young people coming into the marketplace that maybe don't understand how CDs work and how music needs to be mixed and mastered for those formats. So it's a really interesting time. And yeah, like I found through mastering for the CD release of this band that there was that kind of disconnect where they haven't grown up with the format, so there's some little caveats that they didn't know about. And it's a really cool time to be able to educate people about those things and help artists out and stuff like that. So just an anecdotal thing like that I actually came across like at the same time as this article being released, that I happened to work with a band that needed CD mastering. Shout out to her Polaroid. Keen to see you release soon, guys. Anyway, that's a really interesting thing to, come across. Anyway, moving on. Now the part you've all been waiting for. We have 2 plugins this episode that we're going to look at. And the first one is the MAAG EQ4 has just been updated, and at Plugin Alliance, they've got it for $20. Now that's dirt cheap for this plugin. If you're not familiar with it, it has 2 really important functions. One being the sub band, where you can boost like some really low subby frequencies, awesome for things like kick drum and bass. And then it also has this air band, which goes all the way up to 40 kilohertz, and you can add that airiness to a vocal. And on this channel that I love to compare plugins versus hardware, and I have used the real MAAG EQ, and the plugin doesn't sound exactly like the real thing, but it's close enough. It does do a good job. If you're chasing that airiness in a vocal or that subbiness in your low frequency ranges, this is maybe the plugin for you. Now, the other plugin we have is actually completely free, and it's from UAD. It's the Sentry tube channel, and this plugin, definitely go get it. It's free. There's no reason not to. So this plugin is basically, similar, very similar to their LA610 channel strip. So the real thing has, some more options than this channel strip, but what you do have is the preamp stage. You've got the high shelf and low shelf, albeit, only the 10K and 100K on this version, which, is a little bit disappointing, but you do also, they've added a mid band here. So you have that to work with, which is super useful. On the original channel strip, there is just a high and low shelf. Then in this channel strip, you also have an LA2A compressor built in. Basically, an LA2A. They've added an opto leveler here in this part of the channel strip, and then some output attenuation or boost there. Very, very similar in idea and concept to the LA610, with some different functionality in the EQ and the compression. You don't have the makeup gain and stuff in this. This is just one dial, but maybe the output is the makeup gain. We'll see in a second. Anyway, those are both our plugins, so, we can talk about them till the cows come home, but the most important thing is we jump into a session and listen to them. So let's get into it. So I have a session from local lads, Suede Effect, and this is a song that no one's heard yet. Shout out to you boys from Suede Effect and all the Suedies out there. Anyway, great track there. Got a lot of stuff going on. Let's start with the MAAG EQ. Hey. So you can really hear the weight that this sub band adds to the kick drum. Very cool. This air band's pretty cool too. You can really push it. Like, that's 6 dB gain. Doesn't sound bad. Cool, let's try it on bass. That's actually really cool. I'm loving that. That's excellent as a way to kind of shape it around the kick drum. If you want your bass to sit under the kick drum and also above it, but then, remove it from that kind of 50 hertz range. Very, very cool. That's awesome. Loving that. Loving those kind of the subbiness of stuff. Yeah, very cool plugin. Let's try it on vocals.
Monolith.
Now we've got some crazy vocals here. It's awesome. Love these guys. Some real psychedelic stuff going on.
Outcompete the human race.
Got these real subby octave vocals going on there, which are just unbelievable. They're really cool. So let's just see if we get the main vocal.
Outcompete the human race.
It's pretty cool. It opens it up.
Transformation. Modern myth. Monkey creature. Monolith.
It's pretty good. It definitely helps a vocal poke out a little bit more. Let's try it on the whole vocal bus here. Might bring up some of those low subby kind of vocals as well. Let's
The human race.
see if we can pull them up.
Transformation.
40.
Modern myth.
Very cool.
Monkey creature. Monolith.
Definitely bring out the S's a bit, but that's all right.
Modern myth.
Maybe turn that one off.
Modern myth. Monkey creature. Monolith. Outcompete the human race. Transformation. Metamorphosis.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, the MAAG EQ, really cool. I'm not sure I'm completely sold on the airband, and that's probably because I've been using hardware EQ, the V250 at the moment, to sort of get that sound going. It brings out a bit too much of the S's. There does need to be some work still further on this track. It's not fully mixed yet, but yeah, I don't know if it's doing the air thing the way I like it, especially compared to the recent hardware I've been using. Definitely need to play with that plugin more, but so far, $20, great plugin, something that I'll definitely be using more often. Anyway, let's jump into the Sentry plugin from UAD. The two main places I think you would use it are on bass and vocals. So I have a LA2A, the 1LA compressor on the bass. So I'm going to turn that off, and that's here. I'm going to try and get similar compression. Match them. I mean, they're pretty close. It's pretty cool. There's definitely something different in the mid-range of the actual real 1LA and like that real LA2A style compression that I've got from a hardware unit, but they're quite close. I'm actually liking that on bass, and if I didn't have that compressor, I would probably reach for this plugin over something like an actual LA2A plugin, maybe even. So really, really cool. I'm digging that. So good start there. Let's put some EQ on it. Quite a broad EQ there. Let's have a listen to the mix. Does a pretty good job. Like, I prefer the 1LA. That's just my preference because it's a piece of hardware, and I definitely hear a slight subtle difference in some of the lows and the mids, especially in the context of the mix. Like, the 1LA does a better job of cutting through, but this plugin is definitely usable on bass. Super, super usable. I would definitely reach for that if that's all I had. So far, like, pretty cool there. The other place you might want to try the UAD is over on vocals.
Outcompete the human race. Transformation. Metamorphosis. Modern myth. Monkey creature. Monolith.
That mid band's pretty cool.
Outcompete the human race. Transformation.
Cool.
Metamorphosis. Modern myth. Monkey creature. Monolith. Outcompete the human race. Transformation. Metamorphosis.
That's cool. Really usable EQ there. I'm actually really impressed with the sound of that EQ. It's very, very simple, but very usable. And I love that in an EQ. I love an EQ where you just turn dials, it does a thing, it works. It doesn't sound as harsh in the highs. That 10K band is actually pretty usable on a vocal. The mid band is actually quite cool. It doesn't sound super aggressive, so it's probably wide, like quite wide, but also once again, quite usable on a vocal or something. And the sweepable, like the variable frequency select on that makes it even more usable, which is a pretty cool addition to that EQ, which the original doesn't have. I really, really like that. The low works as like a cool boost or cut, so you could use it in place of something like a high pass filter. Yeah, very, very cool. The opto compressor on this works great, just as a one dial opto, which there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes one dial's better. Yeah, definitely. I can't recommend enough. Go out and get that UAD channel strip. Like, it's a very usable channel strip, a very user-friendly plugin. Yeah, sounds good. Like, it's actually pretty decent. I'm impressed. So good job there, UAD. And yeah, that MAAG EQ as well, definitely, you know, check that out as well. If you've got 20 bucks to spare, it's something that might be worth a look at. Now, just remember, like, I'm not always like spruiking plugins at all. Like, I'm, you know, often of the ilk of maybe spend your money on hardware and save your dollars, but sometimes some plugins come up that are worth your money. And these two, you know, might be worth it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment sections down below. Did you like these plugins? Are you guys excited for the Audioscape version of the 33609? Are you guys keen to see the Z&H Designs 560 graphic EQ? I'm super excited for that one, so definitely don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and let me know what you guys think in the comment sections down below. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Mitch from the DIYRecordingstudio.com. I'll catch you soon.